Here's a question from Matthew. He says, being in the gorilla position most of his career, who had some unique pre curtain walkout routines? I know a lot of guys just walk out or pray, but I'm sure there have been some different ones through the years that maybe made Bruce raise an eyebrow. Anything interesting in a pre match ritual that you saw?
Howard Finkel. Howard Finkel would warm up and he would jump up and down in place. He's like, and he would and do Finkelisms and do a couple jumping jacks and just like talk to himself and then he will to get the crowd going at the very beginning of the night to kick everything off. We've been somewhere for something, and before the main act came out, they played Welcome to the Jungle. And we started doing Welcome to the Jungle. And that was Howard's music, so to speak. So he would be back and he would be jumping up and down and moving around and doing jumping jacks and just, by God, psyching himself up for that evening's festivities. And then, Welcome to the Jungle. And he would sing the first few lines and sprint off through those curtains. And like he was Hulk Hogan. It was great. But it was always very entertaining.
Bruce, you ever have a blue chew last too long? Maybe.
Never.
Good.
Because if you do, you got to consult a physician, and that's it.
Thinking Man Sports here says, if Brett remained with the WWF in 1997, so we're saying he's not leaving, the screw job doesn't happen, how much different does Bruce thinks things would have been going forward? For example, does Vince McMahon ever become their Mr. McMahon character? And what would have happened with Brett after WrestleMania 14, etc.? We've talked about this a little bit before because we know that, Brett's out of there in November and Shawn is done by April. So you're losing two of your top stars for the past several years, just back to back. It's a 1-2 punch. Now, of course, you've made Austin and The Rock is right around the corner and so many others. But if the screw job never happened, do you think we still would have found a way to get Mr. McMahon?
I think anything's possible. Again, you're dealing in hypotheticals that are, hey, what if? Well, if I'm not gonna say what is bullfrogs had wings, they fly. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, she could have got there, but the bottom line is had Brett not left, Brett would have been figured in a big way and been a major part of that. It would have been logical after Steve becomes champion to go back to Brett.
That would have been fantastic, man.
It's a logical extension, but that didn't happen. What did happen is, go on to Mick Foley and, Vince is involved in that, and you got Mr. McMahon.
Alex has a question for us. He says, how would Bruce rebook Muhammad Hassan's run? I feel like he was a great talent that got screwed over by real life events. Heck of a nice guy in real life, and it does feel like he was a victim of timing. We've probably heard that story a million times. Is there another idea, an alternate universe, something you would have done differently with the Muhammad Hassan character had that not happened?
Well, I wouldn't have done anything different with that character. I think if anything, look, man, we did a whole episode on him, and I think that, Mark's great guy, wonderful guy, but he also was afraid of the heat. Didn't like the heat, didn't really want the heat. So when you factor that in, it's like the heel that wants to be cheered. I want people to cheer me. I want people to like me. Well, then why are you a heel? If you're a heel, you should relish being hated and being booed. That's great. But the problem is when you are portraying a heel, but yet you're acting like a babyface, there's a simple lack of trust with the audience because they don't know who you are. And whether, you say, oh, well, no, I'm playing my part. The audience knows. Sometimes they can't always put their finger on it. I just think that if he had dug into the role more and shown more desire to dig into it, I don't think that that would have changed the real life things that took place at the time, but it would have changed the desire to, okay, well, now what do we do? And is he going to put more effort into whatever else we come up with? And it was just, unfortunately for him, it was too hot at the time, man. It was an unfortunate set of circumstances that real life dictated that, yeah, we can't go there, man. Just can't go there. And that's tough for a talent. That's tough for a character, especially someone like that.
Let's do a question here from Leland Patterson. He says, "Hey Bruce, any good stories about Tom Carlucci?" That's a name that we've heard before. Any Carlucci stories?
I mean, Tom Carlucci was the shipper at WWF in the warehouse there for the TV studio. And when we opened, Tommy, was a shipper there. His wife wasn't his wife at the time. Worked for me. She was my first assistant, and great lady. And Tommy actually asked for permission to ask her out because it was, they worked in the same place and she was my assistant. I'm like, yeah, no, please go ahead. And then they've had a wonderful, wonderful life and great family. And their son still works for us from time to time. And Michelle's daughter, Sarah, was my assistant just recently. And,
oh, wow.
And she's off at A&E now and building her career. But I've known them since day one.
Wow,
great people.
Chuck says these England, Scotland, and France shows seem to have a lot of excitement surrounding them. What's a country Bruce thinks would be fun to do a PLE or a live show from that hasn't had one yet?
Texas. Wait,
come on now, country.
What? Well, Texas is its own country. Damn it.
It ought to be. I'd love to send y'all somewhere else.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. Just, Silva moved to Texas, and
does he have his passport?
He's getting closer to home,
Wow. Let me think. For a PLE or for TV, I think that Mexico would be great.
Oh, God, it'd be awesome.
Because, they're very passionate fans, and it would be a completely different atmosphere. I think Mexico would be awesome. Go to Mexico City for a few days and knock out some TVs and a PLE, and I think that would be a hell of an environment. Beyond that, we're doing a lot of Europe and things of that nature, but to go into South America, go into Chile, and do something there would be fantastic as well, because it's anytime you can go into a market for the first time and do a TV, the audience is so appreciative and they're hungry. They're hungry for the product. So to me, that's the prime time to go when they're really feeling it. And so far, we've been very fortunate in, hitting them right and get into that market, and they're happy as hell to see you.